Welcome back to Unapologetically Athletic, where we shine a light on women's sports. I'm your host, Kate Dahlhauser, and today we're talking about a sport that holds a special place in my heart. Dance! It's a powerful blend of athleticism and artistry that's often misunderstood. My guest today is Allegra Norman, and not only is she my former teammate, but she is also a former world-famous Kilgore College Rangerette and a Dallas Cowboys cheerleader hopeful. She has also choreographed all of her little sister's solo routines. Allegra is here to share her experiences in elite dance and the drive it takes to succeed in this demanding sport. Welcome!
I'm so excited to talk about dance. Yay.
I absolutely love dance. It's always, like I said in the intro, holds a really special place in my heart. And I knew that when we had to create this podcast, I went, okay, I'm talking about dance. I'm dedicating a whole episode to dance because it's often overlooked as a sport.
Yeah, it is. And it's really not. I mean, there's so many aspects or like little loopholes of dance, so many different career paths or places you can go. But I've always thought of dance as a sport. The dance I've done, the dance you've done, it's a sport for sure. Just the mental or mentality that you have to succeed in that sense. And then also just the physical aspect of it. It is a sport.
What first drew you to dance?
I was put in dance. I feel like a lot of little girls are put in dance when they're really little by their moms. I eventually quit because I wanted to play every sport under the sun, like all my friends, but I never succeeded at those. And this gets a little sad, but when I was in 5th grade, I was diagnosed with 2 learning disabilities, and I really, really, really struggled in school. I just wasn't succeeding in school. And so the school counselor at my school at the time told my mom, you should put her in an activity that she can excel in or feel good doing, that she can have something that she's good at, because I wasn't good at school at the time. And so my mom was like, okay, we'll put her in dance. There was a new dance studio that had opened 2 months prior, so it was very new. There were 15 girls dancing at the studio, and ever since then I've been dancing since 5th grade. So kind of late for a lot of college athletes or professional athletes, but it works. If you have the drive and the dedication, you can really do anything. I've known people who started dancing in college, and I've known people who started dancing in high school. And it literally doesn't make a difference how long you've been dancing. I think it's just the dedication and the determination you put into it in that moment.
Right. And a really good example of that is also Misty Copeland. She started dancing when she was like 14 with ballet. And normally ballerinas and professional ballerinas, they start at a very young age. And she started at 14 and became the first Black ballerina at the New York City Ballet. It really broke the stigma of you have to be really young to be really good at dance.
Yeah,
That's not the case. You did drill team in high school and then became a Kilgore College Rangerette. What was that experience like?
When I went into high school, I told my mom I'm not going to do drill team because I wanted to focus on studio dance. At the time, I was on my competitive team at my studio, and my mom thankfully encouraged me to try out, first to make friends because I didn't know anybody going to my high school, and then second just to like give me an activity at school. And I'm so glad that I tried out because it was an incredible experience, and I grew tremendously in that program, and I didn't realize it, I think, until like after, how much I grew from my freshman year. Because once I started drill team in high school, I was not dancing as much as my studio anymore because of the time commitment. And then once I was an officer, even more time commitment. But my freshman year, I found out about the Rangerettes through our director, who had pulled me into the office, and she was like, have you ever heard of the Kilgore Rangerettes? And I said no, because I was 14, fresh out of 8th grade. I'd never heard of them. She introduced me, and she was like, I think you should really look into this dance team for college. Me as a 14-year-old, I was like, I'm a freshman. I'm not thinking about college yet, but okay. And I told my mom about it, and she was kind of like, oh, you're not going to go to a 2-year college. You'll go to a university. Because my mom didn't understand at the time. She's not a dancer. She's never heard of the Rangerettes. I made her drive me 2 hours to Kilgore to watch their show. Blown away. My mom turned to me and she said, you're making that team. Because she was just didn't realize that she thought we were going to watch like a drill team performance where they were in hats and boots and then they were done. And it was this like a Broadway production, every single style of dance you could have thought, acting, singing, and then obviously like dance. And then the ending was them in their uniforms performing like an 8-minute kick line routine, which is very hard and also very impressive to watch. When I tried out for Rangerettes, I kind of knew what I was getting myself into. If you're unfamiliar maybe with Rangerettes, it's deeply rooted in their traditions, which are now, this is the 85th anniversary this year of the Rangerettes. So
Oh my
85
God.
tradition that they are still organization circles around. They also are very deeply rooted in the discipline aspect of Rangerettes. It does run like a military in a sense. You respect your sophomores by not speaking to them and you call them by miss in their last name. So I kind of knew some things, but definitely going into freshman year, it was a lot because it's a lot to take in at once. But then at the same time, you're dancing like a collegiate athlete, training like a collegiate athlete, eating like and it's like a lot at once. But it was 10 out of 10 the best experience of my life to this day. And I'm very, very happy that I did it. And the type of girls that try out for Rangerettes also know what they're getting themselves into. It's not a bad thing. It's just not a normal dance team. It is
Yeah.
so much more and a lot more you commit to. The type of girls that you're getting at these tryouts are some of the most like dedicated, poised, responsible young women I've ever met. And another thing that I contribute to the organization so much is the person I am today. Completely different, not even just dance wise, but I came out of Rangerettes and, for example, saw my old high school drill team director, Miss Elliott, and she was like, "You are so different." Just the way I was holding myself and speaking, I think I contribute that to the organization 100% because they
Mhm.
just, it's not that they break you down your freshman year, but they do put you at this, you're here, and they build you up as you become like a sophomore rangerette. I think that's a beautiful thing about the organization. I would not be where I am today. I would not have gone to A&M without rangerettes. They've just blessed my life, so I'm very, very grateful.
What did that path look like from going to Kilgore to Texas A&M? What made you want to be an Aggie?
I never grew up an Aggie. I wasn't a family of Aggies. My dad wanted to go to A&M out of high school, but he didn't get in. He didn't have anything against it though, but we were never an Aggie family. We weren't a UT family. But a lot of girls from Rangerettes transfer to A&M. And so I thought, well, I'll do that because I'll be with a lot of my friends. A&M is also very deeply rooted in tradition, and that's another reason why I really liked it because it's kind of like Rangerettes, sort of. And they also have one of the top education programs, and I am in the process of becoming a teacher. So that is probably one of the top reasons why I really went there.
What's your favorite Rangerette tradition?
I have two. And there are two performances. So the first
Mhm.
one, or just one of them, they've been performing at the Cotton Bowl Classic for
Hmm.
75 years. They just had their 75th consecutive appearance performance in the Cotton Bowl in January, and they had a huge alumni performance where they had over 750 Rangerette alumni on the
Wow.
field dancing with the current Rangerettes. And I was there, and
That's
it was really, really special. It was cold, it was icy on the roads, but they still got almost 800 former Rangerettes there. They had a Rangerette from the 11th line. I was on the first line, so there was a Rangerette there from the 11th line.
my
That made me tear up
gosh.
because I thought that was just incredible. Another one of my favorite traditions is Revels, which is their big spring performance, which is what I made my mom bring me to in high school. It's truly, I can't even describe it. I just think everyone should go see it in person because watching it on video or film or social media is not the same. It's Broadway production worthy. It has acting, it has dancing, it has singing, it has lighting effects, videos, and it's all put on by the Rangerettes. We don't bring in guest people. It's all Rangerettes, which I think is just incredible. And it really showcases the talent in that small town, or everyone's coming from out of town or out of state, but it really showcases the talent of the Rangerettes and the Rangerette directors because they produce that show.
Are they kind of like Elliot and Schnur, where they choreograph all the routines? And are those routines that you practice all year?
In the fall, when we have football season, Mrs. Wayne is our choreographer and our assistant director. She does field choreography. That's her thing. She does the kick, she does the field jazz, she'll do the prop. Mrs. Blair is the head director. They have not had a lot of directors in Rangerettes because they stay there for so long, which is amazing. She does not do choreography. She's more of the behind the scenes and just overall she has really built up that organization from when she has started because it was obviously things from back then needed to change to where they are now because the world is always evolving and standards. And then we also have Mrs. Alds, and she is the dance technician. She also will do some choreography with Mrs. Lane, and she does a lot of choreography for Rebels. We start learning Rebels dances in about January. And
Oh,
then we
oh
have
wow,
Rebels
okay.
in April. But
Okay.
my freshman year of college, we had Rebels in March
Oh, was
because
that
of.
because of COVID?
Mhm.
Okay, that makes sense. And now you're trying out for the DCC over the summer. What
Yes.
inspired you to try out for them?
Always loved the Dallas Cowboys cheerleaders. I think everybody could say they love them. They're very entertaining, they're beautiful. I love what they stand for as well. And I love the standards that they hold for that organization and the type of girls that they welcome into the organization. If I were to be welcomed, I would be incredibly honored and humbled to stand on that field on that team. But I love the history that the organization has, and I think the high expectations really draws me towards it. Cheering for an NFL team, I think, is most dancers' dream, and it's
Hmm.
one of mine. So we'll see what happens, but hopefully it works out.
That'll be so exciting. I was talking to my mom. I was like, Mom, I think Allegra's going to try out for the DCC. She was like, Oh my gosh, I hope so. She'll be on Netflix.
I was at the prep class on Friday, and they were filming
Oh
for
my God.
it.
Were they really? Oh, that's
Yeah, we had to
so
sign a
exciting.
waiver.
Oh my gosh. I wonder if they'll have to make you guys sign NDAs or something.
They made them the first season
Okay. Okay.
because it was not spoken about yet.
Yeah.
So my friend that had tried out that first time they were filming, she had to sign an NDA.
Wow.
Yeah.
I remember I had no idea they were going to do a DCC Netflix show until it came out.
Too.
What? They
Yeah.
really kept it hush
But
hush.
they don't do that, I don't think anymore because
Yeah.
they would have had to make us all sign one.
Yeah.
Because now the like season 2 is renewed and right now they would be filming for like season 3.
Yeah. When they did the Netflix show, I was like, I hope that they renew it because I miss DCC making the team.
No, me too. I grew up on that show. I loved that show.
Same. Maddie was my favorite DCC. She was on the
She
point.
was
She was
curly
there for
hair.
5 years. Uh-huh. Like her
Mhm.
strength was hip hop. She's
Pop.
my favorite
Yes.
DCC. I
No, I
loved
loved
her.
her. She's so cool.
Walk us through just a day in the life of training or performing, even choreographing your sister's dances.
I'll do football season. We would wake up on a Tuesday and we would have 6 a.m. workouts with our trainer
Wow.
in the gym. We would walk over at 5:55 because everything at that campus was so close. And we would go work out for an hour. And then we would all come back and sleep. We had all online classes because we kind of were like COVID, but also our schedules with Rangerettes would not align with in-person classes. I had an
Hmm.
in-person class my sophomore year because I had to do it. It was like a math class, but we would sleep and then the only in-person classes we had were dance class. So we would go and do jazz with Mrs. Wayne. We would have ballet with Mrs. Alds. Then we'd have modern with Mrs. Alds as well. From there, we would probably eat lunch. Then we would have ranger at practice from like 1:30 to 5 or 6.
Wow.
So dinner time. It's a whole afternoon, and we were on the field for that time, which is really hot.
Oh my
But you
gosh.
got a nice tan in, and that was always super fun. We had something called Sister Towel Land, which you sat with your sister on a beach towel and she brought you snacks, and it was really fun. And so you would sit there and dab your sweat off and eat a snack. Then from there, you leave practice, eat dinner. Honestly, we didn't have a lot of schoolwork
Mhm.
because we didn't take that many hours of classes that
Yeah.
at night we just kind of got to hang out with our friends, which that's another reason why I loved it because it was just dancing and hanging out with your friends all the time.
Yeah.
It felt like an unreal world. It was so much fun, and those girls are my best friends for the rest of my life. In terms of Rebels season, we did a lot of 3-a-days on days that we didn't have school. After Christmas break, they would make you come back a week and a half to 1 week early, and we would have 2-a-days or 3-a-days. We would have breakfast, practice, lunch, practice, dinner, practice. This is when we would learn choreography
Okay.
because they weren't going to do it in like 4. Like they wanted to bring all the choreographers in at once because we would bring in choreographers for Rebels. That's it.
Okay.
We would learn choreography, then clean stuff, stage or formation wise. We weren't on the stage yet. That's Rebels. It was a lot, but in a lot of times it felt so draining, which is sad to say, but it felt like a repeat, especially freshman year because of COVID. We weren't
Mhm.
allowed to go home because they didn't want us getting sick, which I get that. But at the time, it was kind of sad and it was a lot, but so worth it once you were on the stage performing in Rebels. In terms of training my little sister, I normally will work with her after schools or over the weekend in the afternoon at our studio that she dances at and I teach at. And then when we are training for competitions or tryouts, we're normally working every single day leading up to it if my schedule aligned, if I'm not teaching a class that night.
Oh my gosh, that sounds so time consuming, but it sounds so fun too. You get to express yourself and help other people grow and find their foundation in love and dance. It
I
just
know
sounds
that's
so
one thing that
fun.
I love and I contribute a lot to train dresses. I wouldn't be in the position because one of my favorite things is to teach dance and train young girls. I do a lot of privates a week with girls of all dance levels, dance dreams. So I have girls that are going into college dance, girls that are going to rain, they want to try out for rangerettes, girls that are just now trying out for a high school, and then I have girls that are in high school just wanting to work on their techniques. So it's very, very special and it's fun to get to share my love and my passion for dance with them.
The aspect of dance being a sport and a fine art, I feel gets overlooked. And people, they see the fine art aspect, but they don't see all of the hard work and the athleticism behind it.
Right.
They just see the performance and they're like, that's just performing. They're not doing anything athletic.
Mm.
False. That is very much false. The
Yeah.
physical demands are you got the flexibility, endurance, and then on top of that, injury risks as well.
The mental game that you have, not even just in a performance, which, yeah, you have to really be in the right mindset, but also just practice and being able to every day wake up and go to practice. The same
Mhm.
thing, having the same drive every single day, because if you don't have that, it's going to be viewed and it's going to be very, very obvious to your coaches, to your other teammates, to your friends.
Yeah. Again, with mentality, I remember on brigade being like, oh, this is such a bad turn day. Or, oh, I just can't get my leaps right. You can get
All in
stuck in that
mind.
space. Yeah. And then if you think and you're in your head of, oh, I'm not turning well, you're not going to be able to turn well.
I have girls that I work with that will turn. For example, I had a girl on Saturday. I was working with her. She's trying out for a team this week, a high
Mhm.
school team. So good luck to her.
Ooh.
She was turning and she was like, "Oh, it's just not a turn day." And I was like, "Don't say that. Don't say that because I saw you do them 4 days ago. So I know you can."
Yeah.
And I wasn't mean. I was just like, "You can't say that to yourself because then you're putting into your head that you will have good days and bad days with turns when you that shouldn't be the case because I've seen her do them execute them perfectly several times.
Yeah.
And I think it takes somebody, I wish I had somebody back in high school tell me that to my face because I never
Mhm.
did. But now being where I am, even if it comes across harsh, I think girls need to hear it. I'm never mean, I'm just straightforward
Right.
because I think it's important. Especially if you're considering dance a sport, you have to act like it is, you have to treat it like that.
Right. Many athletes use dance to help them in their sport. Herschel Walker, who's a football legend and an MMA fighter, literally said ballet is probably one of the hardest things I have ever done, almost like MMA. People don't give it a lot of credit and take and think it is easy, but it is very difficult. For athletes, you use muscles you really don't use, and ballet is something I really respect. In dance, you're
Mm.
using muscles that you didn't even realize you had.
Yeah.
And you can feel those muscles too because you have to elongate and you have to really be aware of your body with
Mm-hmm.
dance. And I love seeing videos on TikTok of baseball teams joining their dance team for a week.
No, no, I love that.
I
No, I've
love
seen
it.
those. I love them because and I love when I get recognition from people who are of different sports or who, even people
Hmm.
now have never danced and they maybe used to play a sport and they're like, wow, I really respect what you do. I really
Yeah.
respect dance. I really respect the Rangerettes, for example. And because I told somebody one time who didn't really realize, I'm very passionate about people understanding that the dancing that I did in college, it was not just it was a lot of work that I put in for
Yeah.
4 years to make the team. And then it was a lot of work for 2 years to sustain my technical level and my
Right.
ability the same, but also growing and getting better. And they were like, wow, because I told him what we did, our practices. He said, I did not realize that it was that intense. I didn't
Yeah.
realize dance was like that. That's how you see UDA nationals. That's why those girls are performing the way they do, because they are going into the weight room and lifting weights. They're about to run a marathon. And how they're able to perform like that, it's not easy at all. And I'm not saying football's easy. I'm not saying baseball's easy. I could never do them. Every sport
Yeah.
is so unique and it needs so many different strengths and
Hmm.
training procedures, like ways to train, and dance is
Right.
one of them.
Yeah. Dance helps you with teamwork, synchronization, and discipline as well. You have to be disciplined to be able to dance and take direction and criticism well.
Mhm.
And I feel like that's just so overlooked and it's
It's all
unfortunate.
it is, and that's also like being able to take criticism, learning discipline, not just discipline like on range reps where you would say yes, ma'am. It's also the discipline within yourself to
Right.
wake up, go to practice every day, or go into every practice with the same drive that you had the day before, doing every single dance full out, doing every single stretch full out, not just flopping your body over.
Hmm.
I think that takes a lot of discipline, but also those are all life lessons that can translate over after dance. That's why I think I'm a very different person than I used to be, is because of dance.
And dance is a really good outlet to just get emotions and everything out. I know for me, every time I got upset or just really overwhelmed with emotion, dance was that outlet for me just to get those emotions out and also exercise and build up my dance ability more. How has dance been that kind of outlet for you?
Well, when I was super young, like in fifth grade, that was an outlet for me to kind of escape school, escape what I was struggling with my learning disabilities. I was able to kind of, and I was not phenomenal in fifth grade. I'll say that I did not have my splits. I was this high off the ground, but it was just, I was surrounded by people who loved me and who wanted me to get better, who cared about me. And I was just able to move and be kind of free in that aspect. So, and I also, my favorite style growing up was lyrical, and it has since changed. I still love lyrical, but I think lyrical and contemporary is a very, very fun way to express emotions or feelings, even emotions or feelings that you're maybe necessarily not feeling. One of my solos in high school, I did dedicated to my mom because she went through something in her childhood, not anything insane, but I
Yeah.
did a dance called Piece by Piece, which is
Hmm.
it's about her father leaving. And so I did that as a solo growing up. And it wasn't my story, but it was a story that I got to tell from my mom. So I think
Yeah.
that's a very, very special part of dance. And it's something that, I mean, other sports aren't can't necessarily do. You can dedicate a game to a loved one or a friend, but I think dance is special in that aspect.
Dance, you can have more of an emotional tribute to them. Yes, you can dedicate a football game like what BL did when Miss Duncans passed away and dedicated that football game to her. But dance is just such an emotional sport and emotional art that it can move people, and
Mhm.
dancing can help the audience understand just a little bit more.
When Reese had passed, and we were able to do a whole lyrical routine
Yeah.
dedicated to her. In our palm, we changed the color of our palms. We had a hair piece that we wore the entire competition. I just think there are so many ways that dance can showcase a story without flat out saying it.
Right.
I think it's very special.
Yeah, I think so too. The evolution of visibility of women's dancing, the NDA nationals has grown a lot in popularity.
Mhm.
Every single year, I am getting so many TikToks and videos of these dances. When the Minnesota team, I believe it was
Yeah,
2 years ago or last year, synchronized aerials into second turns, that
yeah,
is
that was
so hard and it
so
blew
crazy.
up. It
Hmm.
blew
I
up.
I contribute that to TikTok, if I'm being
Mhm.
honest, because they've always been phenomenal, Minnesota and Ohio
Yeah.
State. I've been watching Minnesota since high school. I've always loved their palms. Their palm routines are insane, and I am
Hmm.
just so glad they're now getting recognized. I've seen my non-dancer friends will be like, "Oh my goodness, did you see this video?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I saw it. I watched it live." I love how it blew up, especially last year on TikTok, I think is when it
Hmm.
really set into the stratosphere. But this year it was also super, super big. But I take that weekend very seriously. I get the subscription and I watch it.
I almost got it this year. I really want to watch it,
Me too.
but the full dances were on TikTok. You could
Yeah.
look up
It feels
like just
so fun to watch it
NBA.
live. It's just 'cause me and my friends we had a whole weekend. We just watched it all weekend. Then you would also watch the awards live. And I remember on awards, it was crashing because there were so many people on it trying to watch. And I was like, no. But it was fun. It worked. It's so, so entertaining.
NDA is known as the Super Bowl of dance. So many people
Mhm.
know about it. And so many
Mhm.
people just want to watch it. I wish it wasn't a subscription. I wish they would just
I
cover it
know.
on the
I know.
like I
Well,
want to
it
watch
did
it.
crash during LSU's hip hop right before, and they went live on
Imagine.
YouTube and anybody could watch for free. But it was only until they got the new server up or when they fixed the streaming thing. But I was mad because I was like, I paid $30 for this weekend, but it worked, so it was fine.
At least
Yeah.
it worked out. The community around dance is amazing. The dance community, everyone has each other's back. And
Hmm.
that's just a great community. I feel like everyone in that community has its back. And it doesn't seem like that many sports has that with it. And
Hmm.
that's one thing that's so special about dance as well is you're like sisters and brothers already because you just have that aspect and that love of dance.
To go off of that, you're kind of all either if it's a team or a solo, you're putting yourself on a stage to get judged in every single possible way that they could judge you. Your
Right.
outfit, your look, your technique, your dance, the way you're moving. And if it's a group dance, your synchronization, your
Right.
choreography. That's how I've bonded in the past with teammates in high school and then also in college. You're putting yourself out and just performing. And if people like it, they're going to like it. If they don't, you bond over that.
Ali Long's choreography, pop music,
Mhm.
that dance blew up.
And it still is. That dance was at a competition a couple weekends ago, and literally the hotel ballroom was packed with
Wow.
everybody because they just wanted to see it live.
I would want to as well.
Me too. Yeah.
It popped up on my TikTok for you page and I became obsessed with it.
No,
Like,
it's those girls are so young, and I'm like, they are phenomenal, just such phenomenal dancers.
yeah, I mean, the facial expressions, the sharpness. And one thing I really liked about that dance was there was barely any repetition.
There was no technique.
Yeah,
Like it was
yeah. Like it wasn't
movements.
turns or leaps.
How all of her choreography is, which I think is so cool. I could never do that. I love choreographing and I do think my choreography is good. It does well at competitions when it's solos and whatnot. But she is just a phenomenal choreographer. I've seen her choreography for years. I just think that's amazing. She doesn't do a lot of technique. It's
Yeah.
all movement based, which is
Yeah.
incredible.
Yeah. And that's one thing that I just absolutely love because you don't really see that a lot. It's always, oh, yeah, there's a turn sequence, or yeah, let's get like these leaps in. But with Ali Long's choreography, it's just hear the movements, sharp, perfect them. And that's
Mhm.
one thing that I love. And going back to the mental state and having to be perfect. I feel like that can also add a lot of stress to some dancers of I have to be perfect, I have to be perfect. And then the
Mhm.
stereotype of surrounding them of you're just a pretty dancer, you're just have really pretty movements, you're not a real athlete. Those stereotypes I feel are being broken all the time, especially with the rise in popularity of TikTok dances. And I feel like
Mhm.
people are starting to take it more seriously. Yes, everyone can dance. Everyone
Yeah.
dances. The stereotypes behind it, they're just not fair in my
Mhm.
opinion. But it's always really hard for some dancers when they just have that mentality of honing in on a stereotype that just isn't true. It's kind of sad just to see them really start to believe it and then
Mhm.
lose that love. And it's always really hard to see a dancer or even an athlete lose the love of their sport because of a coach.
Oh my goodness. I'm very grateful that I never experienced that, but I've
Hmm.
definitely have seen people who have, people that I danced with growing up, and then I've seen it on social media, people talk about it. It's really, really, really sad. And I can't imagine because some of these girls are phenomenal dancers or
Yeah.
phenomenal. athletes and they're quitting their sport, something they're very talented at, something that they did have a passion for because of a coach, and it's just really sad.
It's hard seeing people step away from a sport that they absolutely love. Being a professional dancer is also really hard as well because in some cases, professional dancers have to have two jobs just to be able to live a stable life. And I would love to see dance just grow more and get equal pay. Even with women's sports, I feel like women's sports all around should just all equal pay because you're
Right.
putting and you're dedicating your life to this.
Cheerleaders, I feel like, is a really good example,
Mm,
just especially because I don't know a lot about the reasoning behind their pay,
yeah,
obviously, but I know those organizations have the ability because of how much football players get paid. And yes, they
right.
are doing something incredibly demanding and challenging, but those cheerleaders are putting in so much time and energy,
Yeah.
and almost all of them work regular
Hmm.
jobs. It's a lot. You don't do NFL cheerleading for the money. You do it because you want to
Yeah.
dance, which
Yeah.
I think that's just further shows why these girls deserve even more because they are
Mhm.
there solely because they love dance.
Yeah, exactly. If they don't make the DCC, they love dance so much they go on another path. There have been some girls that didn't make the DCC their first year and they joined an NBA dance team, or they joined an NHL dance team, or they decided to try out and join another NFL team to try and get back and be like, Kelly, Judy, I've been working my butt off. But
Yeah,
I feel
it's
like
awesome.
Kelly and Judy are just so nice, but they're so strict. But I feel like they're just so
Mm.
nice.
That's like how you need your coaches to be. You don't want your coaches
Hmm.
to be lovey-dovey. I remember our ringeret directors were like, "We're not gonna be lovey-dovey on you.
Yeah.
We'll hug you at the end of the year when you leave, but we're not
Yeah.
gonna coddle you like a
Yeah.
baby because then you're never gonna learn how to
Right.
be an adult. You're going in there, especially ringerets, because you're going into college for the first time, but then you're also being expected of a lot.
Right.
So they have to kind of train you for the real world in a sense."
Right. Exactly. If you could write a letter to dance, what would you say?
I would say thank you for giving me an incredible outlet and sport and art form that I have been able to continue to grow in even today. I'm still growing and I'm still learning so many new things. It has completely changed my life with the opportunities I've been given through dance. And I can't imagine not being a dancer. I literally can't imagine what I would do if I had not started dance in fifth grade or had not continued dancing from there because I mean I would not be at A&M. I would not be a teacher. I owe a lot to dance.
Thank you so much, Allegra, for being on this episode of Unapologetically Athletic.
I had such a great time.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Unapologetically Athletic. If you would like to follow Allegra on her dance journey, her Instagram and TikTok accounts will be linked in the description. Next, we will take a look at women's basketball with former TCU center and Hall of Famer Janice Juke. You can listen to this episode and future episodes on Spotify, or if you wish to watch the episode, you can click on the link in the description to take you to our YouTube channel. See you next time, and don't forget to be unapologetically athletic.